Good evening, guys. I hope you are ready for the show. Just want to say, as we get rolling here in this intro, welcome to episode 87 of the Drag Drive Repeat Show presented by Summit Racing. Tonight, y'all, we've got the man himself, Mr. Derek Putnam, on of Sick the Magazine, talking about the 2025 season, y'all. It's right here on us. We're gonna look at some of the events they've got going on, some of the plans they've got in store for all of you Drag and Drive racers that are out there. So, Mr. Eric White, will you hit that intro video, please, sir?
Yep, let's do it.
We're gonna pack things up and hit the road and try to make it the next day.
All right, guys. Well, my name is Mike Narks. I am the host of the Drag Drive Repeat News right here, wherever you're watching this, I guess, and also the host of the Drag Drive Repeat Show, which you're watching right now. Sorry, I had that backwards, man. My co-host, Mr. Eric White. Please introduce yourself. Tell them what you got going on, dude.
I am Eric White. I am the co host of both the show and the news. As Mike likes to refer to me as the right hand man, which means I pretty much do everything to help out Drag Drive Repeat, the circuit, other events with artwork and racer profile pictures.
Hmm.
Just got back to getting some Hot Rod Drag Week photos up. So honestly, just a little bit of everything. And I'm also coming down with some kind of cold. So you guys can probably hear I sound horrible tonight. So I apologize.
Got some Barry White going on, dude. That's that's awesome. Well, the great thing is having Derek on. We know a guy that is a professional announcer. He can kind of fill in, and if Eric's not up to the task of talking a lot, I'm sure Derek and I can ramble on for a long time.
Yeah.
Guys, listen, we can't do this without you guys. You know that. We call you our race car friends. It's I don't know. I don't know how to explain it to you. We love you. You're the best. Thank you so much for being here. Guys, hit the share button for us as you jump in tonight. Please do that. We've got a big show. This is going to be a good time. And then we can't do this without our sponsors as well. They allow for the travel and for, the equipment we're purchasing and the award show that's coming up. Without Summit Racing, we wouldn't have an award show, which is great. So I want to say thanks to Summit Racing, Molly Motorsports, Driven Racing Oil, Car Change 3D, which we're going to have a special spotlight on Saturday for them, looking at all the new products that Corey is building over there. WAF Racing, who we'll talk about a little bit later in the show, has a new product out for all you carbureted guys. Performer Built Transmissions, J-Wire Solutions, Howard's Cams, Sweet Patina, Power Tube TV, and Racing Junk. Y'all, listen, that's a group of people that you can spend some money with if you would like to right here as you're leading into the off season of drag and drive racing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that is for sure. Well, Summit Racing Speed Legacy began in 1968 as a one-man startup and is now the world's speed shop with 4 facilities and 200 plus catalog editions. They feel your passion, they save you money, they deliver fast, and offer top-notch customer service for more than 1,500 brands. Make sure to download the Summit Racing mobile app for easy access to speed parts. You can also find them on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for all of your automotive wants and desires. And you can also, they've really been pushing the On All Cylinders podcast lately. It's been really cool. Tons of articles over there, a lot of great interviews and updates. So make sure you're finding the On All Cylinders podcast. From humble origins to the social media lane, Summit Racing stands by your need for speed. PRI's coming up, dude. 36 days.
Yeah. Insane.
I'm not. We literally went from 70 days to 36 in a 14-day period. It was
Yeah.
100. I'm now I'm super anxious. We have a lot of the Dragon Drive World Champion stuff that I've got to get ordered and embroidered. So got to get all that done. And booth number 4904, you guys got to come see us out there. But the reason this is up here, obviously, you're going to come see us 4904 PRI. Right here, though, you guys have to come to the Dragon Drive Awards presented by Summit Racing Thursday, 11 a.m., room 241. It's upstairs where all the banquets, conferences, I don't know what all that's, whatever they put us all upstairs
Yeah.
for an hour. You guys have got to come up and hang out. It's going to be fun. More than I think we've got 24 awards we're going to hand out during that hour long period. So it is not slow paced at all. It's we get in, get it done, then we get to hang out with our buddies back at booth 4904 back on the floor. So we will be dragging around our Dragon Drive World Champion to all of our sponsors that you guys can see on the bottom of the screen there, and then taking pictures and all that kind of stuff. So we've got some folks that are coming in for the show that are going to help us. So big shout out to them, and then I did want to kind of give you guys. I wanted to go ahead and release some awards tonight. Can we do that? You're all right with that, Eric?
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
All right, perfect. So we'll kind of get into that as we lead into the next few weeks. We'll be giving away these. I hate to say awards because I mean these guys earned it. I guess that's what you're awarding them for is for earning this. But the top three national event, which is 4 days or more of racing, quarter mile racers is what I'm going to list. So this is the top three quickest guys. These are guys that are going to receive, uh, you know, awards at this show. So Brett Lasala with a 6:34:02 at Sick Week. Bryant Goldstone with a 6:51:94 at Sick Week. Here's what's cool about Bryant. He was actually number 3 and number 4, but because we, look at your quickest, the single quickest racer single quickest average to create unique list of the top 100. Bryant is number one, or Bryant is number two, number one in our hearts, number two on the list. And number 3 is Stefan Gustafson with a 675 or 674 with a 5 at Sick Week. Again, that's another year of the top 3 racers taking that title from Sick Week 2024. That's just awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Really lays it down. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit later with Derek on here as well, is kind of what we can expect with Sick Week coming up. I mean, dude, we're, I don't know, 65 days from Sick Week.
All right.
It's coming up fast as well. So,
Josh here asking if we are going to be live at PRI at all.
yes,
Yes.
we certainly will. We're taking the full live stream setup, and we'll be able to do that as well as have everything else that we would do there. Ooh, and that I do have an idea on some PA stuff, but I got to check with Julie first. Some of the other awards that we're going to have are obviously the Molly Motorsport Toughest Roadside Repair. We're going to have the Driven Racing Oil Road King, guys and girls that drove the farthest, spent the most time on the road to get to and from Dragon Drive events. Of course, the Howard's Cams bump spot, the number 100 in the top 100 list is going to get awarded. Sorry for number 99 and 101. That's just the way it goes. And for this year is the Drag Drive Repeat Promoter of the Year. That's going to be kind of fun, but we need your guys' help. We're going to make a post about this later in the week, probably on Saturday. But who had the toughest roadside repair? We need you guys to submit your recommendations. We have a list of folks that we've kind of been working through. So we want to see if you guys are, thinking along the same lines as we are. So again, please submit your whoever you think had the toughest roadside repair. Submit your recommendations. You can either send them to us on Facebook through Messenger, or you can send it at dragdriverepeat@gmail.com. Probably the easiest way there as well. So just the name, and we can go from there and do some research if you want to do that. Or if you want to tell us, hey, like Alex Rops, who tried to swap an engine, tore one down, put it back together, and then realized it was wrong, and then tried to do the same thing with his wife's car in the Holly's car in the parking lot, and they did, like stuff like that. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for a tire change on the side of the road. We're looking for hardcore stuff. For the Deal group from High Rod Drag Week, that was a huge thrash.
3 engines sitting there in the pits.
Yeah. So we're looking for things like that. So obviously we'll be coming to you guys looking for recommendations on some of the other awards as we lead up. I mean, we have Again, 36 days until PRI. For folks that are watching this later, PRI is December 12th through 14th at Indianapolis Convention Center in Indianapolis, Indiana.
I can't believe it's coming that quick.
Dude, it gave me real anxiety today. I was driving to Tulsa and back, and I was making notes the whole time of stuff I need to order or stuff we need to do. And one of the biggest things we love about PRI is the opportunity to hand out specialty decals. Do you have those in front of you there by chance? So every day, oh, let me take this off the screen. Every day, 100 of these are going to be put into we're going to spread them out in the pockets of the guys that are working the booth. We're going to hide them. So listen, if you want one of these specialty decals, you're going to have to come by. You're going to have to ask for it. We did it last year. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. Then when people got home, they started showing us where they were at. And so now we're going to do that and have these. And y'all guys saw that's about proportionate to my head and shoulders, I think, on there, really.
Yeah, the cartoon sketches of us came out pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty right. My cheekbones are about as wide as my shoulders. All right. Well, let's get to some fun stuff because guys, we also host the Circuit Drag and Drive event, a regional weekender event at Tulsa Raceway Park for 2025, and it sold out in less than 1 minute. Now, when you say that, it's like, oh my gosh, 1 minute, less than 1 minute. There were not many spots left. What we do is a little different than most. We allow returning racers and their co-pilot if they want to race this year. Holy crap, dude. We had as many people that raced in 2024 sign up with the returning racer or co-pilot for 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we went to 200 cars this year. We would not have had an opening at all to go to the public. So we did that.
Correct.
We have an early list, which is great because that allows us to obviously get people in a day early. It also provides us with the opportunity to, talk to them and stuff through email and all that kind of stuff. And then we had I'm just going to say less than 15 people that was or less than 15 tickets open to the public when it went live on Saturday morning. So really cool. I want to say thank you again. The early list is kind of a big deal for us because I run into some imposter syndrome sometimes, man. I feel like, are we really doing this? Are we really going to have a 200 car event? Are we really going to be able to sell out? And y'all, you blew me away. You made my heart big. It was I had a moment, man. I got emotional. It was really cool to see that and experience that. So I want to say thanks to everybody that's out there. And I'm going to tell you right now, you better get ready. We're going to have a blast in
Yes.
2025. That is for sure at the circuit. So Tulsa Raceway Park, if you're not already signed up, the circuitdnd.com or jump on the vote and search for the circuit 2025. You can get on the wait list or sign up for the road trip, which is like our sick ward or road week deal, where you're going to be able to kind of come and hang out and just not make passes. But I'll tell you, we're going to offer those folks early entry in 2026 as well. Yeah. Sorry. All right. I feel like I've just been hammering through, man. Are you okay? Take over? You want me to just
Yeah.
keep jerking here?
Let me see if I can make it through the Driven Racing Oil ad here.
Okay.
All right. Driven Racing Oil is the performance engine that can do it all. GP1 is the ultimate oil for any race or performance application, whether launching hard at the drag strip, enduring the extreme heat of off road and circle track, or pushing limits in top fuel drag boats and demo derbies. Winning racers choose GP1. Compatible with engines from classic hot rods to cutting edge race machines, GP1's unique surface cling and high zinc formulation ensures superior wear protection, particularly for flat tappet camshafts, while solving issues like cylinder washout with methanol and ethanol fuels. Crafted from the legendary Bradford, Pennsylvania base oil, then enhanced with state of the art additive packages, GP1 offers the best in protection and performance. And you guys know the deal. You guys can check out Driven Racing Oil on Facebook and Instagram, or you can head over to drivenracingoil.com, pick up your oil or your merchandise.
Yep. That's exactly right. Well, During this segment, we talk about events that are coming up typically, and we're going to kind of go over a little bit of Street Machine Drag Challenge as well. The first up is Midwest Drags, which opened their registration yesterday or day before. I can't remember what today is. Registration will begin on November 16th for Midwest Drags. It's July 8th through 12th for 2025. One thing they have changed this year, they're switching, or two things. They've changed to night racing. So they'll be starting racing at 6 p.m., which I thought was super late. But I love it because, again, that's what I like about Rocky Mountain is that you are allowed, you're driving all day to get to the racetrack
Hmm.
instead of spending a lot of your adrenaline, then getting in the car and driving all afternoon. I've said that for a long time. So I like the night racing, but then they're also splitting index classes into halves, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's one of I think it is the only event to do that, which is kind of cool because there's a lot of folks that um, maybe running 1150 that slow their car down because they can't run 11 O's obviously consistently, but they'll slow it down to 12 O's, which is probably almost as tough. So this kind
Hmm.
of gives you more of an opportunity to slide into those spots. So they start at 10 0. For a long time they had the Street Machine Eliminator like Hot Rod Drag Week, so they're calling them SME Index now. So you have 10 0, 10 5, all the way through 1350 on that. And again, registration for those starts on November 16th. So in 10 days, registration will be open.
10 days.
Yeah. Yeah. For Midwest Drags. And again, I think they're in Muncie, I think will be the host track for this next year.
Yep, I believe that's what it was.
Yep. I'll have to take a look later. We'll go over more of that as it gets closer and as we hear about registration and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. And then Street Machine Drag Challenge. So the official car count for that was 179 cars. So congratulations to Street Machine Drag Challenge. Our quickest three for that event, we have Adam Rogash with a 26.860, and that's their overall time. And that was in the Outlaw Blown class. Then we've got Keith Hards with a 27.097 overall in the radio blown class. And then rounding out the top three, we have Luke Foley with a 28.045 overall, also in the radio blown class.
Yeah.
So
I thought
we'll,
this was pretty cool. Two four doors, man.
yeah, how cool is that? That's what I like about these other events like that. I mean, none of those three cars you're going to see at one of our events. Like those
Mm,
are all unique cars. So I definitely think that's super cool. I love looking at their photos.
yeah.
And we're going to do a full deep dive on the Street Machine Drag Challenge coming up on Saturday morning. So if you guys are interested in hearing more about that, tune in Saturday morning. We'll go in a little deeper about all the places and everything from this Street Machine Drag Challenge.
Yeah, I had planned to do it tonight, but I spent 6 hours working through their data yesterday.
Yeah, yeah,
Jerks. That's the way it goes, man. That's the way it goes.
yep. You'll have that, and
Yeah.
then tomorrow starts Street and Yeet. So super excited for that. Love seeing the coverage of this event. Looks like a great event. Wish this was an event that I could attend, but man, there's only so many free days a year that we can do this, or at least that I
Yeah.
can do this. So,
Yeah.
um,
I'm sad I'm not going. I'm I wasn't sad until today. And I really, during my drive I was playing on my phone and saw so many people saying they were headed that way and I was like, I should have went. I should have went. Mm.
Yep, yep. So if you guys want to check out all the action of Southeast Street and Eat, you can watch the live stream on Spooled Media. So SPOOLD Media, Spooled Media. And this event's going to run all weekend long. So again, Southeast Street and Eat starting tomorrow.
Man, good luck to all those racers. And Laura and Devin are back from their vacation, from their time away, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. So good luck to them. Well, that's the Driven Racing Oil segment. Let's talk about some Molly Motorsports. And this is the part where we're going to bring in Derek here in just a minute to go over some of the Sick the Magazine 2025 events. So, high performance enthusiasts and racers, meet the Molly Motorsport Power Pack Kit, your ultimate solution for Power Pack performance. The Power Pack pistons are made from either 4032 aluminum alloy to allow for tighter cylinder to wall clearances and improves temperature stability, or 2618 alloy to allow for increased detonation resistance. What sets Molly apart? Forged pistons, graphite coating, and phosphate treatments for peak performance and durability, which we all need in drag and drive. Elevate your ride with Molly Motorsport, where performance meets precision. And for all you podcast listeners, Molly is spelled Mahle, not Molly. So Mahle for Molly Motorsport at mollymotorsport.com for whatever they offer. They have so many kind of engine combos and all that kind of stuff that's in there. Well, we are obviously going to be talking about SICK 2025. What kind of kicked off this conversation and mine and Derek's back and forth is the Central Victorian Dragon
Yeah,
Drive is this weekend. Sorry,
yep,
Dave.
yep. I was just gonna say that looks like that is kicking off this weekend as well.
Yeah. Sorry about
Thursday,
that, Dave.
Friday, Saturday.
Yep. So what started this conversation and Derek being on with us was SICK Summer also was the same registration day as the circuit, which obviously scared me because SICK Summer is a big deal, dude. So that kind of created, obviously, that opened the conversation of like, man, let's get you on. We had originally kind of lightly talked about them being on the news, but because it was so busy with the registration for SICK Summer and all the articles that Derek is writing and all the stuff that goes into registration, we waited. We wanted to move it back and have him on tonight because we're going to kind of talk about all of these events and spend some time talking about all the stuff. So, if you guys will do this for me, please hit the share button as we bring in Mr. Derek Putnam. We'll just have him tell us what he does, who he is, where he does it, and all that kind of stuff. So, if you'll lead in with that, sir.
So my name is Derek Putnam. I talk too much, and my wife is thankful that somebody actually enjoys listening to me besides her.
Well, we love it, dude. We love it.
I am officially the web editor for SICK the magazine, and I announce all of the events that they do, which next year will probably be 5 at this point. If SICK Power Fest comes back, it depends on a lot of things. I mean, I haven't heard anything, yes or no as of yet. But yeah, we're expanding to 4 drag and drives next year. So I have a feeling that my voice is going to be taxed as hard as possible.
Bring it on, man. I hope that is how it goes.
Yes, absolutely. So it's great to join you guys
are
tonight.
doing
Eric,
big
sorry to
things.
hear that your voice is a little cracked, but hopefully it hangs in there.
Yeah, I'll survive.
This time.
Yep.
Well, so we know what you do. We know who you are. What are you working on right now? This is a question I didn't have in the list I sent over to you. I saw you taking notes during the show. I'm sure you've got 4 screens open and all the stuff you got going on. So what are you working on right now?
This is part of what I'm working on right now. So in a nutshell, basically, we've got the fall issue that'll be coming out shortly. I believe it's the fall issue or the winter issue. Luke just finished it right as we were literally starting 666. So that should be getting mailed out shortly. We've got PRI, obviously. I believe we're going to be doing Kart Chaos again. So obviously a whole bunch going on with that. Yeah. There's so many things that are getting juggled. And I find it hard to believe it's November already. But then I look at all the results and I'm like, okay, now we need to start crunching numbers. We need to figure out what we're looking at, what happened this year, and what, you and I are on the same page with this, Mike. We talk about the data, what's going to happen next year. What can we talk about? Yes, I can work on last name pronunciations. For those of you that make fun of announcers, whoever I throw the mic at, and I go, here, you do it and tell me how hard it is, or tell me how easy it is. And everybody decides to back away.
Yeah.
I have an entire file on my phone that has nothing but last name pronunciations. That's how badly I want people to get their names right. So
yes, that is great. Yeah, Kerchik is a hard one, man, because there's too many letters in the middle.
It's not as bad as Eric Bierkavet, the guy who has a J in the name, kind of like Rovek, and there's no J anywhere. What's funny is, real quick, when he ran Hot Rod Drag Week this year, I hit up Brian Loans, who, as some of you may or may not know, was my entry into doing Sick Week in 2022 because he had an NHRA confliction. So I figured I'd repay the debt a little bit. And I sent it over to him and told him what the pronunciation was versus the spelling. And he goes, "Oh, thank God." He goes, "I never would have gotten that." And then 5 minutes later, "Maybe I'll let Freiberger actually see if he can work through that." So if you go back to the first day when Eric ran, there's about probably 5 to 7 seconds where nothing's getting said over the PA system. And finally, Brian just jumps in there and says it and kind of gives me a little nod. But I was like, it would have been interesting to see somebody go, "Is that a J? How many vowels are in that? How are we supposed to say that?"
Yep.
So, but it's funny you bring up Jeff. Jeff actually is one of the guys that's going to be back for Sixth Summer. He's going to try and do the trio deal again with his daughter, Alligator. And I think Nick is driving Old Reliable, the four-door. Actually, I don't know if it's a four-door. I believe it's
two-door. Yep.
It's a two-door, yeah. But that's the only car that they've actually managed to get done. And Jeff, I think, is really like he's got a lot that is behind the whole "I want to get finished with the Godzilla." I think he's supposed to be running Super Street this next year.
Please. That car has been to some stuff, but it wasn't right. But hey, that's part of being a dad, right? Those guys out there making sure all the other kids or make sure their cars are working, all that kind of stuff. Hanging out with them. I don't remember where it was. Was I at Eric, were we at Drag Week when we saw them outside and they were eating? Man, I can't remember. It's so many events this year.
I feel like that was at
Heads Up Hustle. Never mind, Heads Up Hustle.
I wasn't
Maybe
there.
that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
They all kind of run together at some point. But
well, and I think that's what's the most fun, truly, is coming back and writing the stories you write, coming back and kind of getting a chance to relive that. I wish there were more people that had YouTube channels, that wrote articles, that submitted blogs, made long form content for that stuff because man, listen, there's going to be a point where we all get old and we don't remember all those stories, but we're going to go back to YouTube and we're going to be like, "Oh, you remember that 2024 Drag Week or Heads Up Hustle? It was great, man."
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, these are the great things that make this sport the way it is as drag and drives continue to grow, we get more and more of them. We get those stories. We get that hometown feel of people that could be your neighbors, you could meet at a cruise and that kind of thing. And I think that is, again, what continues to push us getting more and more events. So
that's the way it goes. Well, let's talk about Sixth Summer because obviously we talked about registration earlier. Man, it sold out just in moments as well. So tell us about that, and then let's talk about the tracks and maybe car count.
So first of all, it bears to talk about the fact that we pushed everything back a little bit. A lot of people picked up on this. With having 4 events, we needed to be able to focus on all of them. And when we added the whole Death Week deal last year, I think it caught a lot of people off guard, and they were like, "Well, now I can't make the decision. I've already signed up for this and taken time off for work." So Tom really wanted to at least get dates and, hey, here's what we're kind of going to do. Here's where it's going to be located. Now, the only one that even I don't know as far as where we're going is Six Smokies. I mean, you could probably guess a ballpark. Yeah. But that's in October, so it's not really going to overlap. The one that I think that kind of threw all of us for a loop, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen with it. And by the way, congratulations on you selling out the circuit. I think that's great. Thanks. For 200 cars. That's going to be awesome. Yeah. So I think some people kind of wavered a little bit on Sixth Summer this year because of Michigan miles, when you consider the proximity of those two and the fact that the dates aren't too far apart. So that might pull some people away. But I believe the time was 13 minutes, which is not bad considering the first year for 250 entries we sold out, and I believe it was 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Now, yes, it's not Sick Week. Sick Week because of the time of year, the fact that it is the Super Bowl of Drag and Drive. Everybody runs fast there. There's nothing else around it. That sells out in literally, I would say, probably less than 5 minutes. It depends on who you talk to. I haven't heard an official time, but I've seen anywhere from 3 to 8 minutes. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. And listen, Sick Week, again, there's a reason it's a Super Bowl. Like, it truly is one of the funnest events that's out there, and the tracks are on point. And I mean, dude, you heard the announcement earlier. You were backstage when we talked about the top three. That's the second or third year in a row the top three have been from Sick Week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and looking at the topics that you and I had kind of gone over a little bit, as far as we'll get into that in a little bit. But I think that every year we're borderline crying wolf of how great it's going to be next year. Let's see how awesome it's really going to be in 2025 based on real data that we already have at our fingertips. But yeah, it's going to start at South Georgia Motorsports Park. So first time we're ever going to do that. I've actually worked with Raul and his group up there. They're doing a great job. For those of you that don't know, Raul Torres is an old school racer who's been doing it for over 3 decades. He used to have a couple of small tired Mustangs that he ran in No Time and Grudge. So he comes from a great background. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the team that he's assembled is really working on that same time frame as him. So it made it an easy decision for us to, move it and try a new racetrack. So it's going to be a little bit different. I think some people are going to appreciate driving 2 hours less when they come from up north. Mm-hmm. Some of the people from Florida, I don't know. We'll wait and see. But the one big thing that's going to be a little bit different, and I haven't seen a schedule, so I don't know for certain if this is why it happened, but I'm assuming because of every track we go to has so much stuff scheduled at it. We're not starting until Monday, but when we start on Monday, it's day 0, not day 1. So that's interesting. That's the first time we will ever start on a Monday with day 0, and then Tuesday is day 1. And I think it's probably because they have something there for Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. And again, you're in a part of the country there where they race all year. I mean, will they take off 3 weeks? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say for holidays and what have you.
Honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy when you think about how many series and how many other places are looking at doing stuff there. I was at a bracket race there a couple of weeks ago where they paid out $20,000 a couple of days and they had over 200 cars. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on in Florida over the next couple of months. Like I said, I think Bradenton only closes for a week or 2, and that would be it. Wow. So, yeah, he's talking about Danny Grubaugh jumping in here. So, yeah, I mean, 400 miles saves. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I get it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Man, I love that those guys make that trip. From all the way out there in the cars, a lot of I don't know if they've ever towed their stuff from out there to.
No,
they may next time, but
yeah. Interestingly enough, him and the Brody family, I believe all of them or most of them are coming. Real cool story as a aside. The senior Brody, who had not raced since 1964. Made his first laps during 666 in his Daily Driver Chrysler 300, which I thought was really cool. The fact that you got to see 3 generations of Brodies all race at the same time. And I believe that Danny and Alex are bringing their Dodge Utes back.
Oh, perfect.
So Danny ran his the first year, and then he jumped into the Gucci AMC wagon, and I believe that he's bringing out the Utes, and Alex just bought his this year. Hasn't done anything to it. It's still in pieces. So.
Well, if anybody can get it done, it's those dudes.
Yeah, definitely. So back on track. So we're going to start at South Georgia. We're going to go to Bradenton. So again, we're getting that long day's drive that we did at the end of the original 2022 Sick Week. We're getting that out of the way early. So that's going to be the longest drive. Gets done on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. We go to Bradenton, then we reverse course and go back north again. So it's Bradenton, then Orlando Speed World Dragway, then Gainesville, and then back to South Georgia Motorsports Park. Now, what was interesting is somebody commented about the fact that this will be the first time that we're actually racing somewhere on Saturday. So I'm interested to see how that does, because as great of a facility as South Georgia is, it is in the middle of nowhere. It is in a very small, remote town. Now, it gets packed when Duck X and place, series like that show up. So I'll be interested to see what kind of turnout they get.
Yeah, I would think that we're going to see a lot of people this year. As you and I both see, Dragon Drive is growing exponentially, and ending on a Saturday like that's going to be huge.
Yeah,
huge.
No, I agree. It should be pretty interesting. So we'll see how it all works out.
Right.
All right, what's next?
Yeah, so up next, I just want to kind of talk a little bit about who we're going to see and maybe what we're going to see. Can you give us any insight on some route stops and things?
Yeah. So if we're going to talk about Sick Week first, I kind of geeked out. I did a little bit of homework here, reached out to some people, and I got some details. Hopefully, some of these people that told me they were coming don't mind me sharing it. I never got the answer, but all right. So it's Sick Week. There's going to be a lot of things. So I'll start with the obvious because I don't know what Tom Bailey is bringing yet. I think it would be cool if he brought the Durango, considering that thing, survived one already, and maybe he wants to play with it again and see how it works. But the focus, in my opinion, for Sick Week next year is going to be in Unlimited, and it's going to be around 3 people. Now, 2 of which we kind of already know what's going on with them. The third, it's rumory. I don't feel comfortable saying it yet. I'm pretty sure that you've said something about it, but I'll just bring it up. Brian Goldstone, Stefan Gustafsson, and Brett LaSala. Those are the 3 people that are going to be gunning to see if can we get a 5.
Yeah.
And all 3 of them have, in my opinion, a legit chance of doing it. LaSala just went 6:04 at World Cup, and that car still, at this point, I believe, has less than 40 passes on it, I think. Maybe even like less than 3 dozen.
Yep.
So there's still a lot left in that car. I mean, the fact that car went a 101 60-foot in testing at 2,500 feet of density altitude in Florida. I mean, those are getting borderline nitrous times. The only time I've ever seen anybody cut anything sub 1 second was Dave Schroeder going 0.99 last year. So
that's wild.
Yeah. And obviously I don't know what the official weight of that car is. He won't tell me.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this. When you go from the chassis tag of 2.0 to a Pro Mod chassis tag, which is what you have to run 5s, that's the main reason he built that new car. You're losing close to 200 pounds just based on what I know 2.0 weighed and the maximum that a Pro Mod can weigh. A Pro Mod red tag can't weigh more than 2,800 pounds.
Yeah.
His old car was just a smidge under 3,000. So right there is going to be enough to move that 624 that he ran last year to a 16.60. Well, he also went 396 in testing. He didn't go 396 at Maryland, not to my knowledge. If he did, then I didn't hear about it. But I think the 5s are a very good possibility. Stefan Gustafsson, on the other hand, his car, obviously, he's going to a much more modern chassis, 70 model second-gen Camaro. That car got shipped from overseas over to Customs by Biggin, who helped him out a whole bunch on the Bitter Tears Corvette when he used to have it. So they're working their magic, Eric Yost and his crew. And from what Stefan told me is they are hoping, fingers crossed, to be able to have about a week worth of testing time before Sick Week. Now, there's part of me that goes, man, I really would love to have more than that. But at the same time, when you have somebody like Eric, you could very easily get it there in a day or 2. So we'll just have to see how it happens.
From my understanding, it's the same drivetrain that was in the Corvette.
It is. Yes.
So they have a lot of that worked out. It's just now like a whole new car that's purpose built for what it's doing. What it's going to be doing. Where the other car, I mean, that was obviously a drag car, but like, let's be honest, there was probably some stuff that was adapted over the years and upgraded over the years, and wheelbases stretched and things like that didn't really do what this new car is going to do. And so, if he can lose a couple 100 pounds and go into that car, which I would imagine he can, you're talking about that's real fast.
Right. Yeah, and obviously, the advancement in the chassis design, the wheelbase, I'm sure it's probably a little bit lighter even than an all fiberglass Corvette.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say. Unfortunately, out of the 3, LaSala's is the only one that we can point at and go, okay, it's already 0.05 of a second away from 5s. And he told me he was going to be racing it pretty darn close to drag and drive condition when he was at World Cup. So I would honestly believe that there is a solid shot that not only could somebody run a 5, could they do it every day? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe not. It really depends on what the weather does. I mean, in the 3 years we've had it, there have been years where The weather has been negative for at least the first 3 days. And if that happens, it's a very good possibility you could see it happen more than once. And then real quick to touch on Bryant Goldstone, who did join us for 666, but he did it in his modern Corvette.
Mm-hmm.
He and I talked a little bit. He told me that he was building a new car. I didn't hear the particulars of it. I didn't hear when he was debuting it. Obviously, he had a heck of a season with the AMC.
Yeah.
I believe he won 5 events, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a stud.
So it'll be interesting to see whether he takes his time, he doesn't rush it, all that kind of stuff. Does he decide to go ahead and push it and debut it? He could always bring it to, say, Six Summer or something like that and do it there because it's a little bit closer to home base for him. So I don't know. It's dependable. So those are the top 3 people as far as ET, but there's a whole lot of sub stories that I can tell you about as well of people that are coming.
Yeah, and I think that's the real story of Sick Week is you have a lot of folks that, let's say somebody did one other event, like in that level of car, you have somebody that did one other event throughout the year. Now they've had months to get it ready. So everything typically for Sick Week is fresh. All the engines are fresh, the transmissions are fresh, tires are ready to go, all that kind of stuff. They're not trying to get to the end of the year,
Right. So I'm gonna rattle off a couple of names real quick, and then I'm gonna talk about a couple of classes that I think will be interesting. So you mentioned fresh rides. So Devin Vanderhoof, who we just talked about, Southeast Street Meet starting back up, and he's just coming back from getting married to Laura and right into let's do a drag and drive.
Yeah.
So Alan's car, as some of you might know, got pulled apart and stripped basically to nothing. So Big Earn just came back from getting all cleaned up, a whole bunch of stuff changed, and he has said that car will not only be at Sick Week, it'll be tested and ready to go.
Yeah.
That car ran 641 on a non-full pass. Like, it actually, unfortunately, knocked something out of the engine towards the end, and then they had problems with one of their dogs, unfortunately. So him and Alan Whitaker both pulled out of competition on day 1. Speaking of Alan Whitaker, he will be back with Greeny, the Big Monte Carlo. He is going to run both Sick Week and Six Summer. So he got his first ever 6-second pass with that car on Six Summer. I'm really interested to see how that car does on Sick Week with better air, because it could be 670s, 680s. We'll just have to wait and see. We talked about Brett LaSalle already. The interesting thing that has not really been stirred too much lately, but it'll get into a couple of past winners, so, and also people that have competed. So LaSalle has sold 2.0. The guy who bought it, who I still haven't found a full name yet, but I do know that car is going to get an LS engine from Ace Racing Engines. And for those of you that don't know, Ace Racing Engines, Stefan Rossi, built the engine that was in Michael's winning S10 at Sick Week in 2023 that went 640s. So at first, there was some speculation that not only was LaSalle's new car, but 2.0 and Zach Myers, who's driving 1.5, all going to be in the same class. They were all going to be in modified based on the way the cars are set up. Because remember, the modified rules changed a little bit, where they stated that it's the car's body design, not necessarily what materials you're using, which limits it to a small tire. Now, the rumor that I just heard today, not from LaSalle, so it's unconfirmed, but what I heard is he may step up and run unlimited. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out.
Yeah. And I would imagine
I don't know
probably,
if that's going to be done or not. So
he's probably looking at who is going to be there and in what class and stuff like that.
Right, make a decision.
Yep.
So, and then when it comes to some of the other names, spoke to Alex Taylor. She is going to be at both. She's going to be at Sick Week and Six Summer with the 55 Chevy. So that's going to be great. Yeah, Jeff, I agree. That's a whole lot of gotta have it green. If anybody else shows up with one, we're just going to have to call them not Brett LaSalle. Kind of an inside joke with myself and Adam Dory, where he mistakenly called Kevin McKenna, and it wasn't. It was another guy, but that's NMCA and MRA stuff, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So Alex Taylor will be there. Bob Gruber, who won Stick Shift at Six Summer, is going to be at Sick Week, and he's already doing stuff to his car with, trying to get deeper into the 8s. The interesting battle that I see that will also come up this year, is Super Street. And it's been discussed a little bit already. So you're going to have 3 people, 2 of which we've already talked about, and then 1 that's kind of an uncertainty. So you've got Doug Cook, who has been 7.0s. You've got Nick and David Deal, who have been 17s. Both of those guys have run 690s in testing.
Yeah.
And then Lamar Swindell Jr., who took his nitrous 72 Camaro, I believe it is, on 3 Dragon Drives this year, including 666, and was the only nitrous car to finish in the top 3. So those 3 guys have all publicly stated they want to be the first to run 6s in Super Street. It has never happened before. So right now, I believe the record single pass was set by Nick and David Deal at Hot Rod Drag Week, but the average has not been reset yet. That's still in the hands of Ryan Hargett, if I'm not mistaken, from Drag Week the year previously. So there's those 3 things. The fact that Doug obviously wants to be the first guy to run 6s on leaf springs, or buggy springs, as I like to call them. So there's that whole deal. Chuck Stefanski's wagon, the Zumi wagon, which flirted with low 7s all year. Now he's had a whole year to work that thing out, and he wants to come back and run 6s with it. It's been stripped twice now. So there's all that going on. Lamar Swindell Jr. basically bought that 72 Camaro for his daughter, and now he is building a new 67 Chevy 2 with a Pro Charger. That's what he's hoping to debut next year.
Wow.
So,
wow. Does he know sick week is in 3 months?
You know what? Hey, it's like Bob Gruber said. He goes, if we weren't thrashing, we wouldn't know what to do with ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
So, and then here's another one that I just got news on. Matt Moore, who won Rowdy Radio last year. So this will bring up a whole nother conversation. Maybe not tonight, but at some point, I think we can all speculate about this. Matt Moore, who won Rowdy Radio this year and came within like an eyelash of getting to Devin Vanderhoof and Jordan Tuck's 459. That car is getting an update to the engine, and he is going to dive into the modified class for next year.
Interesting.
So he is not coming back to run 26s. He wants to run 6s as well. So we see Joe Haney jumping in here. They are also thrashing on a brand new ride. So the Nova is not coming out next year. They are actually bringing a new vehicle. So I'll be interested to see that. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything because I've got like so many like little chicken scratch things here. But again, I feel like that's something that you guys could very easily speculate on. We could write columns about it, what have you, is where is the limitation for a 26 by 8.5 inch tire? And real quick as an aside, if you want to read something interesting, the record for a 26 8.5 slick supposedly was 463. I wrote a story on Joey, what's his name? Joey Heigl, the guy who's better known as driving the Mustang called Beater Bomb. It's a no prep car. He went 438 at 180.
Yeah.
On a 26 8.5 and had never run it before he showed up to Flying H.
Yeah.
That is just insane when you think about it. And
yeah.
I remember when Jordan went 706 at Sick Week last year, they were trying to run 6s and they said, They made one pass. Devin told me that he said it was scary as hell at the top end. They were like, nope, we're not trying that again.
Yeah.
I have to wonder, is somebody going to make the attempt to honestly do that? Because if somebody just ran 0.2 quicker than the previous record. Now, granted, it wasn't a drag and drive car.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, tire technology just keeps getting better. So anyway.
It's wild to think that level is available on a 8.5 inch wide slick, let alone something that's 26 inches tall.
Yep. So one of the last thing that I'll bring up is there are a lot of people that honestly are very thankful, I think, that there is a drag and drive in the South, because there's a whole lot of them in the Midwest and up north and so forth. So one of the things that I got told about not too long ago was the Luan camp is bringing 5 cars out of Miami. That includes Willie Luan, who is a 2-time winner in the 6th Street Race class. His daughter Gabby, who won Pro Dial Your Own last year, which you remember talking about this. It was extremely tight getting
like
to the end.
Thousandths separated like the top 3 or something like that.
Yep. And the other thing that's interesting is I also got told, have not gotten details to release yet, but Rovic is going to have a brand new Oldsmobile engine in his Cutlass that supposedly is going to make it quite a bit quicker.
Oh yeah, it's a lot bigger and will handle a lot more nitrous, and he's shooting for 850s eventually. He said eventually. He's not, but yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, Bill, it's not Travato Racing. Yeah. That car is going to be really fun, and of course, it's going to do great burnouts.
The only guy that I know that shows up with a spare pair of regular, just treaded street tires, and then is already looking for new ones. And he actually, I think, switched to 16-inch diameter wheel on that car just to try to find tires along the way. But he did a whole bunch of burnouts on 666. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, that dude needs a tire sponsor. And like street tire, he doesn't need like a drag tire sponsor. I'm sure he'd take it, but like he needs like a street tire sponsor.
Yeah. So without steering the show, if I can make a recommendation to transition out of Sick Week into Sick Summer.
Yeah, for sure.
The last thing that I don't know for certain, but just looking at the list, the classes that we can talk about that are always, hugely competitive at both is Sick Street Race and Street Race 275. We can talk about both of those classes. And when you look at who has been successful in both of those classes, it reads kind of like a who's who. For example, at Sick Week, Brian Acton, Alex Corella, Letitia Hughes, Aaron Schaefer, Randy Seward, James Tall, Jordan Boudreau, all these people that you have heard time and time and time again. They're all supposed to be back as far as I'm aware of. Acton I haven't confirmed, but I highly doubt we won't see him considering that he won both of them this past year.
Yeah, I would imagine they're back.
Yep. And then, of course, we'll see the cool part. We'll see Houston and Kate McLean celebrating their first anniversary since they got married on the starting line at Sick Week this year. They'll be back to compete. They said this year, because they ran the now defunct NMRA 860 class, and they had a lot of time to kind of dial in on that index. So they're really looking forward to trying this next year. So that'll be interesting.
And that's the note I just made was about Letitia Hughes. She was telling us in an interview at the end of Sick Week that she's like, I just wanted to get through. So we just basically one and done to every day to make it and know we would make it. So now that she knows she can make it, she's gotten some experience. She drove the truck, the ice cream truck at Sick Summer. Now she has that experience. We're going to see, is she a new face in the top racing category for the 850 stuff?
I would say so. I mean, again, this is my bracket index racing part of me coming out. There is no substitution for having data and a logbook and knowing how to go out there, because to use Houston and Kate as an example, because they're really good friends of mine, and I talked them into doing Sick Week, and so I'll take full responsibility for them not having a savings account and obviously getting married there. I'll take full responsibility for that.
They got plenty of life left.
The first year he ran, I want to say like an 848 and then like a 14-second pass because he had some kind of a safety issue. And then he messaged me and he goes, should I hang out and make a third pass? He goes, it's already like 4:00. I really feel like I should get on the road, but I'm competitive. And I'm like, you need to finish. If you stay and you deprive yourself of sleep early, it's going to catch up with you. It's hard for me to say that to somebody, but I feel like it was the right call. Get your feet wet, get the event done, then come back and refine your program. Very similar to what you just said about Letitia. Letitia had run an 850, 860 index category for 2 years before she ever came and ran Sick Week this year. So she came with all that data of what to set up for. So I feel like her doing a one and done has a little bit of an asterisk next to it. Yes, she did it. And yes, she completed it, but she came in armed with a little bit more than most people do.
Yeah.
Not taking anything away from her at all, but I feel like there are more and more people that are class racers that are understanding that, hey, we can still be competitive, but have a whole lot more fun when you do it traveling from track to track. So that's why we keep seeing that those classes get more and more packed and more competitive. And that leads me into Sick Summer with those same classes. So Mike, I know you'll appreciate this. I contacted the top 4 on both classes at Six Summer, because we talked about how competitive those were this year.
Mm-hmm.
So in 6th Street Race 275, which is the one where they were separated by 8 thousandths of a second among 4 people going into day 3 or day 4, I believe. So Chris Mary, who finished number 1, Jeremy Ortiz, number 2, Dean Anderson, number 3, and Matt Frederick, who unfortunately ended up having issues with his car and falling out of the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that numbers 1, 2, and 3 are all coming back. I want to say
That's
Matt
awesome.
told me that he is as well. And I know Mike McMahon, who was kind of a grudge / no prep guy, is already signed up to come back too. And he ended up finishing number 4 overall. So he was a little off the pace, but again, I feel like that is also going to just be an absolute dogfight. That is going to be a good one again. Now, same thing. 6th Street Race, Brian Acton, Cameron Alley, TJ Linebaugh, Kevin Fenstead. Outside of Acton, who I did not confirm with, the top 4 in that class, all coming back as well. So,
wow.
Again, it could be a dogfight. And you remember that Acton and Alley were not separated by much either. And Alley and I actually spoke, and he told me he put his car away running and with no problems. It's weird. He's not crashing on it.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that all works out. Timothy Blythe, who ended up winning Unlimited, is signed up again. So him and his wife will be driving the Triumph again. So that's cool.
Yep. And that car is getting way more power.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys have been following Blythe Life Racing on Instagram, man, that new setup's going to be gnarly. So he wants to go real fast.
Yeah, just search him from 2022. Look at what that car looked like when it ran 11s the first year that he showed up into what it looks like now.
Factory front Triumph suspension and all the goofy stuff that was there. And then, man, it is a whole different animal. But that's him to a T. He doesn't know how to leave anything alone, and he's a heck of a fabricator.
So then some of the names that have become synonymous with, in my opinion, very good performances that we're going to see. Damon Elf, who actually just ran World Cup and ran in the 770s, 780s with his Supra, a real 6-speed Supra, like an H-Gate. He'll be back at both. Fonzie Novello with the Baramont, he'll be back. Ken Cuttle Jr., who was our top NA car at Six Summer, he'll be back.
Love that car.
Rob Sinker with the 790 Pontiac Grand Prix, he'll be back. Rob Courtney with the all-wheel drive Honda.
There's not a
close again to all 8s. He'll be back. Josh Norris, who finished number 2 and naturally aspirated with that wheel standing stack injected Chevy 2, he'll be back. Pat Miker with the blown low 7 second 67 Chevelle, the stick car or the Lenko car, he'll be back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many people that have just made these kind of things a repetitive nature to come back. And thanks, Jeff. We appreciate you bringing in somebody else.
It'll be like a whole group.
Yeah. It's almost going to be like the Reimars family, where they're going to have to like adopt people. Like, remember you and I were talking about the fact that the Reimars family was like all Fords, and then, we adopted Mike Turner, who seemed like I pretty much saw him at like every Drag and Drive last year. I wondered if the guy even worked or anything. Then he just told me he's retired. So anyway, so he'll also be back. The car that I'm most interested in seeing, which actually is debuting this week on Street Yeet, is Nick Reinhardt's new 67 Nova that he just put together. Now, Evan Erkowitz has been helping him out with that car, and they are supposed to be bringing that car to Sick Week as well. That'll be interesting to see how that whole thing works out. And I think he said they're doing Six Summer as well, too.
Wow. Yeah. Anytime Evan's involved in something, it's going to be nice and fast.
Yeah. There's going to be a whole bunch of interesting stuff. And then there's a couple of new names that I've never seen in Rowdy Radial that had thrown their names in there, including a pretty cool looking, I think it's like a Ford LTD wagon. His name's Chris Dorneman, I believe. And Jason Bergeson with a really clean white G-body Monte Carlo, who just went 772 average at Hot Rod Drag Week this year, is going to be running Six Summer next year too.
That car is
no
so
shortage
clean.
of good stuff.
Yeah, that car. There's a guy named Jim Weiser who races 850 stuff, and those cars look almost identical.
They do. And when when I'm uploading the Drag Week photos, I have to look very careful on who I tag.
Yeah, it was white G-body time at Drag Week for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's almost funny when you talk about who you tag is to break off this just for a second. At 666, I can count on one hand the number of Fox Mustangs we had. I can count on one hand the number of 67 to 69 Camaros that we had. But we had probably 5 to 6 late model F-150 Coyote powered pickup trucks. Probably the same number, 5 to 6 C8 Corvettes. It's different. It's interesting to see how when you change where you're going and what kind of turnout you get and how fast they are with the terrain, the mileage, everything else. So,
sorry, there. Travis Clark said Anthony Harville and the Fairmont wagon. That'll be a great one.
Very cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and then I'd be remiss if I wasn't talking about the fact that a guy who has actually been in drag and drive for quite a while, Rick Steinke, actually made the entire trip on 666 with his family and then drove back to Missouri. So that car made a 2,400-mile trip. And then the guy that he rode with, Jason Russo, they are both, or at least I know Jason is. I think he's co-piloting with Mark Cicino, who won the drag and drive title at the NHRA New England race this year. He's coming back to Sick Week next year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, see, this all kind of runs together in my head. It's all jumping.
Right. Billy Carroll of Edelbrock here says, Robert and the Tesla testing in Orlando this weekend before running Sick Week in January.
Yes, the no EV twin turbo big block car. That should be very interesting. It was at a couple of stops this year on Sick Ward. I cannot remember why they didn't run it. I think it was either a license or a chassis tag or something. I forget exactly what it was, but yeah, there was some reason, but I saw it at the next to last stop when we were back in Orlando. And this thing is just nasty mean. I think they've had some issues shaking it down, but that thing should be very interesting. Obviously, it's going to be an unlimited, so we'll see what it runs.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I think, Billy, if you'll set me right, but I think Robert is Mark Campbell, the 850 black SN95. I think that's his co-pilot.
Sounds correct.
And from Six Summer last year, I think, anyways. And so, that guy has been around that kind of stuff for a while. Obviously, those guys at Comp and Edelbrock are, they're born into that stuff now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, all right. So we talked a little bit about Sick Week. We talked a little bit about Six Summer. I see Billy Carroll just actually said something.
Yeah, he said correct about Robert being the co-pilot, and then he said not enough time is when
that was what it was.
Getting the car together.
Yeah, they actually had tapped a local, somewhat local, but a Florida driver that has done A-Fuel and blown alcohol dragsters to help them shake that car down, just because of the licensing requirements and everything when you start running that fast. So.
Yeah, and shout out to Rodney Reeves. Him and I have talked several times since 666. He's signing up for the circuit. It's going to be fun. Man, those Coyote powered F-150s are so impressive, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. No, if you look at how many of them are really starting to show up in drag and drive, because you can throw a turbo kit at them or just a standard supercharger kit at them with nothing else done, and they'll be in the 10s and the 11s with very little work as long as they have good traction. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. So
yeah, it works well. All right, sorry. What were you were leading us into another topic here?
Yeah. I'm trying to make sure I get everything on your punch list, because you know me, I'll ramble on about useless stuff.
What? That's not why you were on here.
Yeah. So we also talked about, you and I mentioned mentioning the new events, which are Six Smokies and then Michigan Miles, and we also talked about the route stops. So the routes, before we get completely off Sick Week and Six Summer, and obviously I'll throw this back at you guys just to make sure I didn't miss anything with all my scribble. The route stops yet have not been planned completely. I know Luke puts a lot of time into that, and honestly, he spent a ton on 666. At first, we had something close to like 60 different spots, and you ran the beginning of it, so you know how it was. The first drive day, we did 10. And it seems daunting at first until you just start picking them off. And then you're like, okay, we're doing good. We're spending 5 to 10 minutes each place. Okay, let's roll the next one. And it was a lot of fun. And I feel like that is one of those things that, again, sets us apart a little bit. I'm biased on this. But if you look for really cool locations that not only are going to interest the people that are in your event, but also can hold all the cars of your event, and you're thinking this through, entry, exit, location, etc. These are the kind of things that really make it hard and or make for a good event. And of course, with Florida, the issue you run into is construction, traffic, etc. So
normal stuff that goes along with that. And I love the I don't know what the A1A is, that what it's called? Is it runs up the coast there? Man, that was one of my favorite drives of, I think it was Sick Week 2022 with Justin Chestnut in the Model A. Man, it was just so cool to be along the beach. When we were there, it was rainy, which is normal, but it was just really cool to drive along the beach there and kind of be in really cool cars doing that and see really cool cars everywhere and think, man, this is what it would have been like in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, there was a little bit of A1A on the tail end of 2023 as well, and that made for some really cool shots there on our, I think it was either our first or our second checkpoint on day 4. The A1A part was the early part of this year. So unfortunately, like, that was kind of one of those things where it's like, if you try to do it, I think the discussions were, if we try to do it at the end, the issue you run into is it's already late. You're trying to drive from South Georgia, so you're not going from, say, Gainesville to Orlando. You're going from South Georgia to Orlando, so it's a longer drive. And to kick it all the way out to the beach side is a little bit more difficult. It's a little bit more mileage. But if you do it on the first day, the issue you run into is, can everybody leave before it gets dark?
Yeah.
So I got a really cool picture of the Ratty Radial's blown Porsche sitting in a gas station, and there were so many people coming out going, "What is this thing?"
Right. The
it was
day
perfect.
One,
it was beach.
what would be really fun is to see how late, I don't know how to word this, but like how late people make passes in relation to the rest of the week, right? So there's very few one-and-dones on day one. There's a lot of people that are running 2 or 3 times. They race until the lanes are closed. And then, like, you see their faces like, oh, shit, we got to still drive 200 miles. We got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Got to quit making passes, because I think as drag racers, we're used to being at the track for a while, and now you end up, you just got to get going. You got to treat day one like day 4 and just get out there.
Yeah. And the one thing that I saw Luke put up, and I didn't dig into it too much just with my workload this week, is he was looking for a checkpoint, and I believe he was looking at a museum. And if you remember back in 2022, when we went from South Georgia all the way down, we stopped at Don Garlett's, and that was the midpoint.
Oh,
granted, it's a little different towards the end when you're not starting the next day until noonish. So I don't know if that's going to come into play. I mean, again, you're looking at something that's close to 300 miles. Now, granted, yes, it's a straight shot down I-75. It kind of sucks as far as the scenery goes, but it's pretty simple. And it's also in January, so your cooling system really shouldn't, in my opinion, get taxed. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that whole thing kind of shakes down or not. But I personally like the idea of getting the long drive out of the way on the first day, and then the other one, then the rest of the week is all very manageable. I think it'd be about 200 or less, and in some cases probably even 150 or less.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And to talk about Carl stuff here, he said, I really like the idea of having a drive day include a large car show with locals, as it seems like it'd be a great way to spread the word about our sport. Man, that really is a good thought there. The struggle is, like, with the track availability in the Southeast, you really don't have time. You don't have, there's no need for a drive day there. But I think we can definitely do some local car stuff. What I would suggest to these local car clubs or local promoters is, dude, put something together. Damn, where we're going to be. We're coming to Orlando on Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever it is. Like, one of those promoters needs to put something together. It's just a cruise night, man. It'd be easy.
No, I agree. And, it's funny that you bring that up, because that's the whole thing with Sick Ward. There are people that want to cruise along and have a good time. And even if you buy a ticket to get in the Sick Ward and you don't go to every single location, and you say only go to 3 or you go to 4 out of the 5 or whatever, it's still giving you that opportunity to get out there. Honestly, I love the idea, But from my experience, the issue that I think you would run into would be, where are you going to find a place that's going to be able to house that number of vehicles, number one? And then number two, how are you going to get everybody gathered together at the same time? Not everybody's going to leave the hotel at the same time, get on the road at the same time, take the same pace.
Yep.
So, like the one time that we did it where we went to a car show as part of Death Week, when you only have 80 cars, it's not as bad. And it was fun, but there were people that literally were there for 5 to 10 minutes and left.
Yep.
And then we hung out and walked around and looked at everything that was going on. We were in California. We said, screw it. We want to see what it looks like. And it's not as doomy and gloomy as everybody thinks it is. But to be fair, again, 70 is not 300. And if you don't have a drive day, how realistic is it going to be? Now, could you do it at the end of it? Yeah, possibly. I could see that. You have a real big parking lot party, but then the issue becomes, how close is it going to be to your host hotels? So,
Well, and again, I think it falls back to local promoters. I think you would probably have some guys show up, but again, they're going to have to get involved and do that. I think that falls onto the local scene, the local guys to do that. We were trying to work something out with some car clubs in Springfield last year for the circuit to do something similar, and those guys just couldn't get anything done. So, that's kind of where the Waffle House deal kind of really struck off at that point, and went a little wild from there.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because you're bringing up food. I actually got to have dinner during 666 more than I expected.
Wow.
That'll happen at Sick Week.
No, probably not. And so let's talk about that for folks that are at home that don't understand what it's like from the announcer side of stuff. You're there. You're one of the first people to arrive because you got to get your stories and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But then you're one of the last guys to leave too. So people get, I'm going to, they don't get upset, but they're maybe hurt a little bit that they don't see Derek Putnam out running around in the middle of the day. Because he's back at the track making announcements. He's waiting on that one.
They are not unhappy that I'm not there. Adam Dory is there, and they're happy to see Adam.
Well, maybe that too. But, there's guys that are thrashing in the pits trying to get to where they can make a lane call. And, Derek's wishing that somebody would just please come up and make a pass. Please. Baby Jesus, come up and make a pass. Now, one thing that was fun on 666 is you got the microphone would reach. Dude, you were like meandering around. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I actually do that at Gainesville during my normal test and tune stuff that I do, because I find that especially at test and tune, when we don't have information in the computer, it makes it a lot easier for me to interact with people than if they have questions then I can answer them. Because let's be honest, at a test and tune, you're working with not a skeleton crew, but a smaller crew. So I like the talking to people and getting their feedback and kind of helping them out and what have you, because just like Drag and Drive, all it takes is one and they're hooked and they want to get into it. So, speaking of hooked. So Haley Pickett and her mom did 666. So I gave Jason some crap about the fact that he didn't show up with the hearse, and he did confirm the hearse is coming back to Sick Week. So that'll be fun. Hopefully we can get a 7 out of that puppy this year, because he got close last year. He's calling me out in Tulsa because he thought I was in the bar. That was one of those. That was one of those deals where I'll tell you what, man. Robert worked probably harder than just about anybody else. I mean, they had the tranny in and out of the car. They thrashed on the engine, and then unfortunately, I think they ended up throwing in the towel because I want to say, I think it was the intake gasket or something. It was either the intake gasket or the oil pan gasket that was wrong. And at the point that they were at, they couldn't go get another one and still get there. So I think that was what it was. But yeah, kudos to him. I mean, him and who was it? I'm drawing a blank. Puckett with the 55 wagon, who unfortunately had problems. And I think he ended up kissing a piston with a valve. But both of them jumped into their tow rigs and ended up making the rest of the week. So it was pretty cool. Oil pan gasket. There it is. Yep. See, again, this is the useless crap that I remember. That no holidays, no birthdays, no anniversaries. I just remember this stuff.
Yeah. Car stuff with race car friends. That's anytime somebody, do you know so-and-so? What do they drive? Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah. Funny that Josh is jumping in here. Did you see about Josh moving to a new vehicle?
Oh man, that new rig is going to be banging and kept the leaf springs, bro.
Yep.
Let's go. I
Yep.
like it. Had a great opportunity to go full on race car stuff and said, you know what? I think we'll just hang some leaf springs on this full tube chassis S10.
Well, not only that, if you go and you look at the photos of that, they're in Rocky Mountain Race Week's group. And then I did a story on it when I saw it because I talked to him.
Yeah.
He is selling the white truck. It may or may not stay in the drag and drive community. That's all I can say at this point.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that
So-
truck is impressive as hell. I mean, I love it. And a great story about Josh is just that he took in some dude he didn't even know. Like his co-pilot, Mark Smith, makes a post. Hey, I'll be a co-pilot. I can wrench. I can do all this fun stuff. Speaking of that, Josh, we need to have you on the show. Send me and Eric a message. I'd like to talk to you maybe about next week. We have a good show planned for next week, and I think we could fit in 15 to 20 minutes for you. I think that would be a lot of fun to have him and his co-pilot on and hear those stories, man. Hear what happened and what went down, what it's like to ride with somebody that you don't even know, which is kind of what I did in Race Week 20. I knew the guy, but we had spent maybe 15 minutes together before that. So it was really a ton of fun and gives you untold numbers of conversations you can have.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Yep.
And
I'll
Josh had a
send
very good
message
ending to his year, considering that he won Rowdy Radial at 2.0 and then to finish top 5 at 666 with, let's be honest, I mean, that thing had, I wouldn't say it had its tongue hanging out, but you could definitely tell when we were in 7,000 feet of density altitude that people had their stuff turned up as hard as it would go.
Yep.
To be able to run the numbers that they did. And we almost had an all 5-second top 10, which is saying something on the 8th mile for tracks that I'm not saying they were sketchy, but they weren't prepped like some of the other stuff that we go to.
Right.
So
yeah, it was that was a great trip. I really, let's talk about 666 for a second, if you will.
Sure.
Another 10 or 15 minutes we got here probably.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was a ton of fun. That event was great for the fact that everybody was calm, everybody was relaxed. I think everybody really enjoyed that as a almost vacation because there were a lot of drag and drive guys and girls that were there that have done really hard stuff. They've all done really hard things. And I think this event was like, hey, you know what? We're going to drive 150 miles a day. We're going to have some fun. We're going to stop at 10 places. Dude, the 10 stop route was a blast because you were not in the car long enough to hate it, which was mandatory on a trip that's going to be 1,300 miles. So it was a lot of fun, man. You guys did a great job.
I appreciate that. Obviously, I'm only one tiny little bit of that. I honestly do feel that as much as I have fun announcing that and doing it, that it could have easily happened without me. I mean, there were a lot of things that happened. And yes, it wouldn't have been, I will say that announcers do bring things to the next level. However, it could have been just as memorable without me being there. But
I don't know.
Either way, I will tell you that Tom's idea of coming up with one-offs where you know that, okay, Sick Week and Sick Summer are always going to be there. They have established themselves, the turnout that's been there, the track support. Okay, those are established. Now let's go off the beaten path a little bit and let's take people down something they've never done before. Yeah. And I think that as much discussion as there was about Death Week when we did that, it being 2,000 plus miles and a big loop around California, Nevada, and Arizona, that as soon as 666 came out, there were people that said, I'm not doing anything this year because I want to go down Route 66.
Yeah.
And I agree. It's rough. I mean, you and I talked about how rough the original sections of Route 66 were. I mean, we lost 2 oil pans and a transmission pan at least, if not more.
On one bridge.
Right, on one day.
Yeah.
And
I know 2 oil pans from the same bridge.
Correct.
That's the way it goes.
And I almost talked my co-pilot Carly into jumping on one of when we were going through Texas, I believe, you could see the original Route 66 next to us. It was unlined. The grass and the trees and everything was all grown up next to it, to where I took a picture of our Hellcat Charger next to it. And you're like going, there's no room here. It almost literally looks like you're trying to drive something on a sidewalk.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there were signs that said, road closed, what have you. And we were a little timid about trying to drive that, not knowing if we were going to hit a mile and get across the next crossover. But it's interesting to see how all that has changed. Not only that, but it reminded me of Death Week and the fact that there is some scenery that you get out there that is unlike anything else.
Yeah.
But the number of abandoned buildings, gas stations that they had well over a dozen abandoned gas stations, but yet there were like 3 of them that were completely restored. Like you showed a picture of the one that's right at the beginning of Route 66 in Missouri, where it cuts over and it's unlined and has the real big Route 66 in the front of it. And they have all the relics in there and everything. And it's like, this is the kind of thing that really gives people that memory, that reset of, this is where we came from. This is what we did back then.
Yeah.
Be appreciative of the smaller things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. I will say the 66 stuff is really, I was talking about it today with Keith at Tulsa Raceway Park and what's coming in 2026. I mean, there's, we're getting calls about events for 2026 as the 100th anniversary of the road. So there's going to be crazy stuff. Again, I say it all the time. Cars are cool. People are spending money on cars, and there's this 100th anniversary is going to be one of the absolute coolest things you're ever going to experience for a road that is so long. I mean, what's it, 2,300 miles long or something crazy like that? 2,800. It's probably 2,300 miles, and there's going to be millions of people that there's millions of people that do it now. I can't imagine what it's going to be like in 2026. So it was really cool to be on a lot of that road. I did Springfield to Amarillo. The Amarillo was really a neat track. That was kind of a fun. I love the signage out front of the track. That old sign was really cool to get some pictures with. But when I drove home, man, it was tough. I was like, what am I doing with my life, man? I need to, because like, that's really where it started. Oklahoma City, I feel like, really kind of kicked off what 66, when you envision it in your mind, right? This road is, I'm telling y'all, it's a lane and a half. It's not a full 2 lanes of road. It's a lane and a half by what we're used to these days.
Yeah, so it's, according to what I'm looking at on the sign at the midpoint, it was 2278 is the mileage.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yep. And just a little shout out here. So Robert Williams actually did the entire thing. He actually drove from Florida all the way up to the beginning, drove all the way through California where it ends, and then came back. And I want to say his total mileage, because obviously we go off the beaten path a little bit, he did a whole bunch of extra stops. I think his extra stop count for 666 was like 140 or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, by the time he left Amarillo, they had 126.
Yeah, I forget exactly what the number is,
awesome.
But
it was awesome.
I think all the way back to Florida, he finished with like 7,200 miles.
Wow. And then how about your boy Jeff Oppenheim and Dan Nissen driving
in a
PA to Chicago?
Old Pontiac. Yeah.
Dude, man, I love that thing. So it would have been really neat to have a film crew following those dudes. Can you imagine that car cruising downtown Chicago in all the traffic and stuff like that? Taylor Hedrick here asking, late to join. Sounds like we're getting another 666 type thing.
Well,
I mean, we're working on something for 2026. It's not necessarily a drag and drive, but we're going to do some big road tour type stuff on Eric and I's side for sure.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing that I can tell you as a blanket statement, because I don't do the planning on this.
Yeah,
I sometimes hear things that Tom thinks about every now and then. I know you can honestly get an idea from him about what his thought process is when you watch his videos.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty forthcoming on stuff. He has said since the beginning that the one-offs will not be repeated. Now,
Right.
again, use your own deduction to think about that for a minute, and that's all I'll say about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities to run different parts. Obviously, you're not, again, Springfield to Roswell. You guys have done that, but even within that section, you could shorten it up and do stuff or do different things around that. So there's a lot of chance there that is great, man. And that's what I love about the one-off stuff that SICK does is you guys really, again, it's like a vacation for a lot of folks. And so let's work into SICK Michigan Miles, because I think this is a really cool idea. I heard him obviously on one of the videos was talking about that you can drive 1,000 miles within Michigan and never leave the state. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. So one of the ideas that I think is still technically on the docket at some point is probably going to be for 2026 if he can make it happen. But he's mentioned doing something in the Northeast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
I honestly hope it happens, because I feel like there is a very decent sized segment up there that wants to do something like that. But unfortunately, it just couldn't come together. So I think Tom basically did the same thing. He kind of looked outside the spectrum. And the only thing he would tell me was, if you get into Michigan and you get up around the northern part of it, up around the lakes, is that the roads up there are pretty nice compared to, let's be honest, I mean, just because of the temperature and everything else that they go through. So, yeah, I mean, if you think about the fact that there are a ton of racetracks in Michigan that you could go to and just do a loop without leaving the state, because the state itself is pretty freaking big. So it's like, it should make for some really awesome scenery. It should make for some really cool deals, especially considering the two of the racetracks are tracks that Tom has either tested at or been to. We ran them for 6 shootouts on one of them. SICK Magazine's name is at 2 of them, which is Milan and US 131. I don't know if either or both of those will be on Michigan Miles, because we haven't announced the racetracks yet. I don't even know what they are, but I hope they are, because both those tracks are cool. They both have a lot of history. So we'll see how that works. But
Milan's awesome, and 131. I love Sam and the team at 131. I've got to go for some reason I locked the shop door. I have it, I guess. So I got to go let her in so she can get the dog. I'll be right back.
All right. So Eric, all the photos and everything that you've been putting up have been great, because I think that those are the kind of things that, again, we talk about all the memories that get made, but I can't imagine how many photos you shot at Drag Week. It looked like they were got to be in the thousands.
It was total number was 10,250 for the week.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. I'm edited all the way through day 3, so I'm just started day 4. I just started posting day 3 this morning. So
now, I don't know if you've seen it yet. This is something I was actually going to bring up to Narks when we talked about announcing. On David Freiberger's channel, he actually put up a video of the behind the scenes of doing Hot Rod Drag Week from his perspective, like what he does every night, kind of some of the stuff that him and Brian are doing. I think that's a great look to give people an idea of just what happens behind the scenes and look at it. So especially on 20 years of doing it.
Yeah, we talked about that. I don't remember if it was last week or on Saturday we talked about it, but yeah, it's I really liked that video, and I think, like you said, it gives people an insight to see what goes on. They show, or he shows getting to the hotel late at night, and giving kind of a recap of the day, and then in the morning, what it's like up in the booth. So yeah, I really enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, this is the kind of thing where I'm glad that I forget who it was. I actually got to look just to try and remember who it was. I believe it was one of our competitors, and they normally do Rocky Mountain Race Week, and I feel horrible that it's escaping me right now. But he actually came upstairs at Alien City at our last track that we went to, because they were selling T-shirts and stickers out of the tower. And he actually Facebook Lived, I think, like 2 pairs. I think one of them was Rich Guido, and I forget who he was lined up with. I think he was running Matt with the Turbo Family Truckster wagon. But the point is that he caught me in the middle of writing stuff down for my daily reviews and stuff that I do. And he's like, I can't believe that somebody does this. And I said, well, the problem is that, even when Tanya, all the hard work that her and her crew do on giving us an Excel file or a PDF or something every day, it doesn't tell me how many runs they made or when their best run was made or did they spin or did they thrash or what happened. And I feel like that's the biggest thing that can come from it. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to have carpal tunnel at some point, but it's kind of like what Freiberger was talking about. It's like, if you look at how many pieces of paper are on his desk or on the area where they're announcing from. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's great to give people that idea because, again, not that I feel like we deserve it or anything, but I want people to understand that we work hard to try to give them a really great experience because, again, all of us are enthusiasts. And I feel like that comes out and that's relayed in everything that we do, whether it's what Luke does with the magazine and taking pictures and everything else, or how, say, for example, Narks and I are announcing. Those are the kind of things that take that a step further. And I feel like that is what encourages people to spend the money and the time to participate in an event like this. And I'm glad that people are getting that look at it, especially for somebody like him who's been doing it longer than anybody. So,
yeah. Jeff's comment here is the first thing I thought of too when I heard of Michigan Miles is how cool would it be to see a line of drag cars rumbling across the Mackinac Bridge?
Yep. Yes. I agree. Some of the to kick back to 666, some of the landmarks and stops that we went to, the first bridge that was only just wide enough to accommodate 2 cars, or the underpass where, Mike, I think you had left by this point. This was drive day. This was the second drive day after we had gone from Texas into New Mexico.
Yep. Yeah, the underpass, super cool. One lane.
Yes. And I have a photo that I'm sitting there banging off photos on my cell phone. And Lamar Swindell Jr.'s nitrous car comes out from underneath the tunnel. And because of the way the exhaust is kicked to the side, it's blowing all this dust up behind it. And it just comes out of the tunnel and catches a little bit of light. And I'm like, that just looks amazing. I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to clean a car after Route 66 because it was rough. Yeah. But it was amazing to be able to look at that, because that photo, you show that to your friends when you participate in it, and it's going to bring up half an hour's worth of memories easily when you look at that. So. And
all the cool stuff that comes from that. Well, listen, we've probably gone further than or longer than what we needed to. We still have some stuff we got to cover, so folks stay with us. But Derek, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on, telling the stories, and giving us kind of a inside look into a lot of the stuff that's coming for the sick events in 2025. It's going to be awesome.
I appreciate the opportunity. Obviously, we kind of juggled some things up tonight, but thanks again for providing the chance to come on and talk to you guys. Eric, I hope your voice recovers, and look forward to seeing both you guys at PRI. I mean, the fact that PRI is in a freaking month is ridiculous.
Dude, 36 days.
Yeah. Yep. It'll be a great time, though. I guarantee you that. We'll have lots of great stuff to talk about, and it'll be a blast like always. And before you know it, those 3 days will be out of our system, and then we're planning for 2025.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the plan as of right now, just so you know, is that Eric and I both will be at Sick Week for his first Sick Week adventure. We're trying to work through some of the logistics of that and how that works out. So hopefully we're going to be there. So it's going to be awesome.
Definitely let me know when you guys get there, because I'd love to be able to bounce some stuff back and forth when we get started in the week, because it'll give all of us stuff to focus on. And again, we get more stories out there. We tell people about everything that's going on, and it's a better deal.
Well, and you know how it goes. There's a lot of times where I'm standing on the line and Derek's doing stuff, and I'm like, I just texted you.
My phone's under 10 pages of something. Yep, and I'll find it. Yep,
that's exactly right. Real quick for Jeremy Ortiz's comment here for an 850 DRI panel. I really would like to look at some stuff like that.
Yeah.
We can figure something out. We have a very, very busy Friday and Saturday for Eric and I both. But there's definitely some time we can look at some stuff and maybe gather some folks up and have some conversations. Because I'm telling you, the 850 class it's as I don't know. It's as tight as anything we've ever seen, and it's only going to get better, and it's only going to get tighter, and people are going to build faster cars because they want out of it. I'm telling you.
Yeah, the fact that there were over 40 in
Yeah.
just the small block power adder class at Hot Rod Drag
Yeah.
Week. So yeah, I mean, I'm fully on board with that. You and I have crunched numbers on that, and I appreciate all your help with that. So yeah, I'm on board with it. Let's all figure out a time and place, and let's do it.
Awesome. All right, Derek, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
Mike, Eric, have a great night. Look forward to seeing you guys in a month.
Yep.
Dude,
See you,
ya.
Derek.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
Eric, I'll let you do this. I've been talking a lot, man. I'm sorry. Giving your
No,
voice a rest, dude. You're
yeah.
Barry White, man.
Yeah. Between you and Derek, you've definitely saved my voice tonight. Race car friends, again, thank you guys. We've had tons of comments tonight. Great conversation. We can't do this without you guys supporting us, so thank you. And thank you to our sponsors: Summit Racing Equipment, Molly Motorsports, Driven Racing Oil, Car Chains 3D, WAF Racing, Performabuilt Transmission, J-Wire Solutions, Howard's Cam, Sweet Patina, Power Tube TV, and Racing Junk. Again, we can't do it without our sponsors as well. And you know the deal, the gentleman's agreement. We do this every week. This takes time to prep the show, the notes that we put in, gathering all the photos for the show and everything. It takes time, takes energy, it takes money. Gentleman's agreement. We're going to continue doing this because it's what we love to do. We love talking about Drag and Drive. And we just need you to like, comment, subscribe, share, invite your friends to the Race Car Friends group page. Let's just help grow this community. So that gentleman's agreement is saying you guys are going to do that while we continue to keep providing you the best show that we possibly can.
Oh yeah, that is right. You want me to do the power tube?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. He said, hang on. Well, guys, rev up your engines with PowerTube TV. It's the ultimate destination for automotive entertainment. You can stream for free on the web, Roku, mobile apps, and more. Catch replays of our shows right here and exclusive content from us and other top creators, featuring classics like Pinks and Pastime, which Pastime's coming back new for 2025. And then plus a ton of new original shows that they're creating. PowerTube TV isn't just a platform, it's a community. Join the content creator program. So if you create content at a consistent pace, don't be coming over here with some lollygaggy crap. Listen, we want some real TV content, man. We want to be able to show these people what we do here in Drag and Drive. Be part of something special. You can find out more at watchpttv.com.
Like this show? Want more? Then head to watchpttv.com, the new 100% free PowerTube TV streaming network. Home of the best classic and new motorsports racing and build shows on the web.